let's go ahead and start with the ones here in the States that we are mostly familiar with and involved with. And let's start with BMI, mainly because I am there as a writer and a publisher, and you're there as a publisher. I have always found them to be pretty consistent, and if their tech wasn't so old. However, I do have to say their tech is improving. I want to show you something. This is the royalty dashboard that BMI has now, and this is really cool. You can also see this kind of information on Track, TRQ.
QK, yeah.
Yeah,
I think.
and I'm doing that
Track.io,
now, and you can see stuff like that, and you can see how your royalties are flowing, and you can see, like, this is off this month, so you can see that there was a big placement on Owning Manhattan, which only played a little, like last time, and this time it's paid a little bit more, and Love is Blind has been paying a lot. So it tells you all the shows, shows your quarterly trends and all that kind of stuff. So they are getting a little slicker over at BMI with their interface. That's the biggest difference between BMI and the other biggest one here in the States, I would say, which is ASCAP. ASCAP is really pretty. Someone showed me their ASCAP, the dashboard, and it's very nice looking. BMI still looks pretty old. It does the job, but it's not very sexy looking. But ASCAP looks beautiful, and it's free to join. But we need to talk about ASCAP versus BMI, because you've been with ASCAP, correct, before?
Yeah, I started out at ASCAP because when I joined way back in the day, you actually had to have a live performance to qualify. And so during my graduate work, I had pieces performed at the University of Memphis, and so that qualified me. Nowadays, you can, just sign up. But I'm glad I started with ASCAP. There's a ton of resources. There's like workshops and composer symposiums and all these types of things, which are great. And their website is amazing. The cue sheets are great, and the payouts, you can really track them. And so I'm glad I started. But when that guy
Randy
had the
McGravy.
video about ASCAP, at first I was like, that's not true. That can't possibly be true. The fact that they're only sampling and nope, that's absolutely true.
Did you do some
And
research?
I did. Not that I thought like that he was wrong. I just thought that is so insane. It can't possibly be right, but it was absolutely right.
It
And
feels
I was
like
gobsmacked.
the Nielsen's, where they just take a sampling and that's how they pay everybody off a
Right.
1 week sampling or something.
That's not okay, man. That is not okay. And so I don't know who thought that was cool. And I'm glad that Randy made that video. Yeah, gobsmacked is the only word that I can think.
So that's one strike against ASCAP. One plus with ASCAP that you don't get with BMI is cue sheets. You get these cue sheets, and you get to see, and you see those sometimes before you see payments, right?
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. You get the cue sheets usually, within a couple of months of air, and then, they hang out there until you get paid. And SESAC is the same way. But ASCAP's cue sheet game is top of the pile. It's really, really good.
All right. So let's talk about SESAC and why you joined them instead of ASCAP and BMI, or like when you switch from ASCAP. I know it's an invitation only thing, but why SESAC, which is another U.S. PRO? Why did you switch to there from?
I did it because my publisher sponsored me to submit my application to SESAC, and I had to do an interview and all of this kind of stuff. And the main reason I switched over is because of the different algorithms that the PROs use, which are considered trade secrets. So we don't know this all for sure. However, in general, ASCAP pays out more for the types of placements. BMI pays out more for ratings, and SESAC pays out more for length of placement. So if you get a theme song placement, then ASCAP's probably going to pay out more. If you get something like on the Super Bowl, BMI is going to pay out more. But if you're getting something in a lowly rated, like Waste Management Open round 2 on a Saturday, that's not highly rated, right? And it's background music. But I was getting like 2, 3, sometimes 8 minutes worth of placements. And so it made more sense for me to switch over to SESAC. and they're a smaller PRO, and so Aaron Collins is my personal rep.
Nice.
And just last year, at the end of last year, there was some hiccups with direct deposit and like all this kind of stuff, and so I emailed the vice president of film and television to help me out with my direct deposit setup. And I even asked her, I said, Aaron, I feel like I'm wasting your time. She's like, nope, I'm the person. And so she helped me sometimes several times a day, going back and forth, trying to get bank accounts and routing numbers.
That's great.
And so SESAC gives you that option. They do have cue sheets. They're not nearly as sexy as ASCAP's. And ASCAP's website's really, really good. But the personal attention over at SESAC has been great. Whereas with ASCAP, you're kind of want a number.
Is
tough.
there an application that you fill out with SESAC that you say, hey, I want to join, and they invite you? Or is that just something they come to you with because they found you? Or how does that work?
For me, I was sponsored. So it was my publisher saying, here, Dave should do it. So I don't think you can apply for it. It's probably one of those things that like you need.
It was
to be
easier for the
somebody's-
publisher, maybe, and the publisher suggested to them, "Hey, I'm working a lot with this guy. It'd be easier if he was a CSAC member, as far as we're concerned."
Yeah, I'm sure that was factored into it. I mean, CSAC, because they are such a small team, they are wanting to make sure that they're working with people who are working constantly. And I actually know composers who were in CSAC and got removed from the roster because they hadn't written anything in like 4 years.
Wow.
And so they will periodically kind of go and just cull the roster, and no hard feelings, but it costs money to have somebody like in your database that you're constantly like tracking the cues. But if you're not getting any placements in 4 years, then it might not be a good fit anymore.
All right. The winner of the best name so far in the chat, Boogie Hibachi, says, what if I don't want to register with either? What are some other ways of getting paid with performance royalties? Is it mandatory to register? Which is pretty much what we're going to talk about next. It's not going to come magically to you. All of the television stuff, they report to the PROs. If you're not part of the PROs, you're not going to get what they've reported to that they've played, and you're not going to get a piece of whatever that money is. So there's no other way to get performance royalties unless you're part of a PRO that is going to actually pay you because they got the information, right?
Yeah, you have to. That's like saying, what if I don't want to wear a helmet playing professional football? Well, it's not really optional. You have to do it. It's how the industry pays its composers. Why would you not want to?
Well, it's also like saying, I don't want to be an employee from your company. I just want to work there. So how will they pay you?
Send me an envelope of cash, just here's a bag of nickels.
Somehow I want money, and send it to me. Other PROs include PRS in the UK. Then also we just talked about GEMA, which is GEMA, which is Germany's one. There's SOCAN in Canada, which would be probably the most people watching this video are going to be part of one of the ones we've just talked about. But every country has one.